Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robyn LaVassaur. They say our biggest fear isn't being inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild with Robyn LaVassaur. We are talking about a topic today that, I'll tell you what, the one-dimensional business. And that is something that I had for a very, very long time and didn't even realize it. And so how do you add more depth to your business? And my best analogy for this is I want you to think about you standing on something and how sturdy it would be. And so let's start with a one-dimensional business. What you're standing on is a pogo stick. And a pogo stick, you're wearing out at some point, right? You got to jump to keep it going. It's one space at all times. And I'm not very coordinated, so I'm for sure falling over at some point. If you have one space where your business is coming from, let's call it refis. Imagine every single person that only did refinances, never focused on anything else, didn't have anything outside of it, never took care of a database, didn't do anything but try to glean refinances when rates essentially doubled, quadrupled overnight. That's an ouch, right? That's not putting yourself in any sort of position to ultimately be successful in any market. And so one-dimensional means the majority of your business, and I would say probably 90% or more, comes from one arena and one arena only. What's going to happen this summer? Hey, real estate business in general is going to shift a little bit, right? NAR, all of the things, everybody's kind of exhausted in talking about it and yet know that they need to know and understand and ultimately implement more. It is going to impact the real estate industry, right? When short sales and everything happened in the real estate industry, there was a huge shift in 2007, 2008, 2009. If you were an all alt-doc, non-QM, right? Like lender, subprime, Alt-A, I couldn't even think of the words. If you were doing that 100%, if you were no longer doing any type of loan with that, your business ended in a day. It's a really, really big deal to have a multi-dimensional business. Now, that doesn't mean you try to focus everywhere, which means you focus nowhere. And so let's talk about what it means. When I talk about sturdiness, I talk about sitting on a chair. And if you think about it, a chair that truly is sturdy has 4 actual legs. And so your business, if you're thinking, can I stand up on this? If one leg was gone, could I still stand up on it? The answer is yes, right? Technically, a stool generally only has 3. Very rare do you see 2, right? That requires some balance. And then at 1, back to that pogo stick. And so what does that look like? Well, what I would tell you is you have to identify and focus and kind of quadrant out, hey, how much of my business, the best way to do this is to look backwards at all the closings that you've done over the last, really probably 2023 and 2022 are more realistic depictions of what your business will look like on a daily basis. And if you look and say, hey, I was almost all real estate driven, that means you're on a pogo stick. How do I enhance? What business am I missing out on in the 4 other legs of my chair? Right? It's not that I want to get rid of the real estate. It's not that that's bad. I'll stick with the realtors. However, what are the 3 other legs of my business? This is in any business period, right? Where else would I glean clients? It's not even the type of business you're doing. It's really the clients and where you drive them from. And so if one source is real estate agents, awesome. Second source, I'll give you mine and then I'll give you some additional ideas. So second source for me, I've always thought it would be so great to be a builder lender. We just don't have a ton of building going on in the town that I've lived in, and we never have. Not enough to make myself the builder lender by any means. So it's never been builder for me. For some people, builder's a great zone to be in on top of realtors. Ironically, those are 2 very separate spaces, right? It's really deriving where the source came from. Is it builders that are referring you? Is it the referrals coming from the real estate agents? Super big deal that you're understanding that it's the referrals coming in. What source is that to build the chair of your business? Okay, that's how you're taking care of it. So for me, it was real estate agents, past clients. Now, if you're brand new, what do you likely not have? Past clients, right? Or maybe not enough of them to really say that's part of my chair currently. That takes time to evolve unless you're either taking over somebody else's business or you're just going to build yours, right? Which will take a little bit of time. Everybody that had a ton of past clients hit the jackpot, right? In 2020 and 2021. They did very well in that space. What they forgot was to take care of one of the legs of their chair, if you will. And often chairs became stools or pogo sticks again because people got so hyper-focused on refinance and refinance only. And then they thought, I got to go out there and reestablish myself with a whole bunch of real estate agents because I've been ignoring them for a couple of years. Huge, huge miss if that's what happened. And so it's not only to have a chair and to build out the chair, but to keep the chair going at all times, regardless of market conditions, right? To always be touching all four quadrants because you never know when that one is going to rise to the top and be your bread and butter at that given time. So you've got real estate agents, you've got past client database, or sphere. Now, for me, that was another piece to my chair because I had all three, right? Real estate agents, past clients, and the ultimate sphere. If you have no past client database, sphere is a huge one. Easiest way to access your sphere, pick up your cell phone, right? You probably have a multitude of contacts in there. And my question for you would be, do they know that you want to be their lender, that you will answer all things lending, all things real estate? Are you in contact with them where they undoubtedly would say, if I have a single need in any lending whatsoever, I'm calling Robyn LaVassaur. That's the ultimate goal. And so when you think about that actual chair, it's not just, I have these people that I think will give me some business. It's very much I'm intentional in each of these areas of my business. I'm active in it. I'm ultimately taking care of each. It's like polishing, taking care, making sure that chair stays very sturdy, right? Tightening the screws, making sure if I wanted to stand on it, I absolutely could and it would not crash on me. And so really big deal that you're working all of those areas. Fourth one, totally up to you. For me, it became business affiliates. And so when I see business affiliates, it was financial advisors, CPAs, kind of a VIP list, if you will, of people that were great connectors that weren't directly in the real estate, weren't directly in my past clients, weren't directly in my sphere, ultimately were outside of that, but that I actively engaged with. A great space for that would be credit unions, banks, different people that also have affiliation with lending that very easily could refer to you. I can't tell you how many people referred me business that worked at other lending institutions that I knew what they could do that I couldn't, and vice versa. It's a beautiful place to build a mutual referral ground. I want you to look at your business and reflect the last 2 years and say, honestly, do I have a chair? If I stood on it right now, how sturdy would it be? If it's not sturdy, how do I focus on adding not all the legs at once? This is where we get very confused in business in general, as we know what we need to do and we start going, I have so much that I need to implement, which means I'm implementing nothing. Instead of this time, I'm going to maintain this main piece of my pogo stick and I'm going to turn it into at least a 2-legged stool, right? It's better than nothing. And I'm going to add this over here. Hey, now that I have both of those going, I'm going to add my third leg. How do you do that? Essentially the same way that you do the first. Everything starts with connection and engagement from you, ultimately devising a plan that says, hey, I'm going to call every single Thursday 10 of these people and check in. I'm going to ask people to coffee or lunch. I'm going to invite them to events. I'm going to make sure that I'm sending a video or monitoring within my database. There are so many ways to build out the stool. I love the VIP category, the business affiliates category. It's so easy to ultimately make phone calls to people and say, give me a great recommendation for CPAs. You call them, pay them a compliment, and ask them to have a cup of coffee with you. And if this podcast comes out anytime soon, i.e. after April and before about July, August, when the rush comes in again, CPAs are not as busy and way more willing to get together and meet and do some planning and some connecting. So there are a lot of opportunities out there. What I have learned more than anything is highly active, highly visible, and highly focused on how to build a very sturdy business that you stay active in all 4 quadrants. Now, I personally could never be active in more than those 4. That's a pretty darn full plate at the end of the day. And at any given time, one might be, right, the bigger piece of everything, but trying to keep at least a healthy balance and having reflection at all times. Wait a minute, I see that my past clients are down in terms of referrals. Why? oh, my past clients are down because we haven't been making the calls. We haven't had an event recently. We haven't reached out. I'm aware. Now I can correct. What I think is a travesty is when you get to the end of the year and you go, the market wasn't that great. I didn't hit my goals this year. I will tell you, you are your own market. You are your own chair. You are the person standing on all of it. And you are the one ultimately securing whether or not it's sturdy enough to hold you up and ultimately help you grow. If this was helpful for you, I hope that you share it. We'll get into all the details on all the parts that I talked about, the quadrants and more, in future episodes. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.